Hi everyone, welcome to Tax Vichara. In this channel, we bring you knowledge, updates, and practical tips on tax. You are watching our new series on International Tax Simplified. At the end of this course, you will get a basic conceptual understanding of international taxation. This series is for you if you are a student or a professional in accountancy, commerce, or law and interested in learning international taxation. My name is Vaishaka Bhatt. I'm a practicing CA with specific focus on international tax and transfer pricing. I'm joined today by my colleague CA Sumana Rao, who also has a vast experience in international tax.
Hi everyone. Once again, welcome to the series on international taxation.
Today, we are at Module 2, where we will start diving into the construct of tax treaties. If you are new here, please watch the Module 1, where we give an introduction to international tax in a simple manner with examples. We saw how double taxation emerges in a cross-border trade and operation, types of double taxation, and how the double taxation avoidance agreement helps in resolving such double taxation. In this module, we will, at a high level, understand the objective and purpose of a tax treaty, its construct and structure, and the principles of interpretation of tax treaties. First, let's understand the need for the DTAs. As we saw earlier, Double Taxation Avoidance Agreements, or the DTA, relieves double taxation by allocating taxing rights between the countries, by eliminating double taxation either through credit method or exemption method, or by establishing criteria for determining an exclusive residential status for taxpayers, or by providing access to competent authority negotiation and consequently allowing corresponding adjustment. In addition, tax treaties also assist in collection of fair and legitimate share of taxes by countries, assist in enhancing the cross-border trade by multinational cooperation between the countries. It ensures non-discrimination between nationals or residents of two countries, and assist in resolving disputes arising due to different treaty interpretation. A similar set of functions of tax treaties are also provided under the Section 90 of Indian Income Tax Act. That brings us to the next question. How are these DTAs developed? What is the structure of a DTA? What are the underlying points that the countries factor while concluding a treaty? We all have heard of model tax conventions and the related commentaries issued by various international organizations, namely the OECD, UN, etc. Sumana, can you please explain why do we need these model conventions or commentaries?
A tax treaty is applicable to jurisdictions with divergent legal and socio-economic conditions. For example, India-US Treaty, which is signed between India being a developing country and US being a developed country. The policies governing taxation principles are very different in India and the US. Further, a tax treaty will be used by different persons like individuals, companies, firms, etc., and will be applied by various persons like taxpayers, tax authorities, courts, etc. Thus, there is more scope for different interpretation of a treaty provision by different people. Further, there may arise conflict between countries on the scope and contents of treaty. In order to provide guidance on structure of a tax treaty, policy considerations that should be considered while concluding a treaty, and also to have uniform interpretation of a particular treaty provision, various international organizations like OECD, UN, etc. develop model treaties and commentaries thereon. This can help bring reasonable standardization to structure of a treaty or its interpretation, and thereby assisting a meaningful implementation of tax treaties.
That really makes sense. So, what are the various conventions that are available and what are the differences between each of the conventions?
Though the very first treaty was concluded between Germany and Italy as early as 1921, a draft OECD convention was first concluded in 1963, which was finalized in 1977. The OECD Model Convention and the commentary thereon tries to address most of the problems arising in a cross-border transaction and is mostly accepted by developed countries while concluding treaties with other developed countries. The focus is taxation in resident country and exemption in source country, thereby eliminating double taxation. Another international organization, United Nations, developed its own model convention in 1980, which emphasizes taxation in source country at first instance, thereafter resident country to eliminate double taxation either by applying credit method or exemption method. These are largely used and implemented by developing countries. These model conventions are updated in 2017 after including recommendations from BEPS Action Plan. In 1996, the United States also developed another model convention and technical explanation, which forms the starting point of negotiation of US treaties. It provides emphasis on taxing rights being with the resident jurisdiction and provides a detailed set of anti-treaty avoidance provisions such as limitation on benefits provision, which is aimed at preventing treaty shopping arrangements. A latest version of US Model Convention is released in 2016.
Now let's understand the general rules and guidance available for interpreting a DTAA. Normal rules of interpretation, namely the literal interpretation, harmonious construction, etc., shall apply even while interpreting the double taxation avoidance agreements. Some of the specific internal aids of interpretation include the definition under the various provisions of the treaty, the protocol to the treaty. Further, Article 3.2 provides that resort should be made to the domestic tax law of a country applying the tax treaty in case a term is not specifically defined in the treaty itself. Further, the preamble which enunciates the purpose of the treaty also provides guidance. In some cases, there are mutual understandings between countries recorded with respect to the treaty, and those help as well in understanding the provisions. Further, reservations and positions of countries on the provisions of Model Convention also form a major part of interpretation, since it indicates the country-specific policy and understanding of particular provision. Sumana, can you please take us through the other modes of interpreting the double taxation avoidance agreements?
In addition, Vienna Convention on the Law of Treaties, popularly known as VCLT, also provide general guidance on interpretation of treaty provisions. Article 31 to 33 provides that a treaty should be interpreted in good faith and having regard to the text and the context of the provisions. Further, any subsequent agreements between treaty partners will have an overriding effect for a treaty, thereby indicating a preference over the ambulatory approach as compared to a static approach of interpretation. Some of the external aids of interpretation include policy documents issued by OECD, UN, etc., such as BEPS Action Plan, cross-border taxation in light of COVID-19, etc. Treaties concluded by treaty partners with other countries around the same time, that is parallel treaty interpretation. Articles, commentaries, essays, white papers written by renowned authors such as Klaus Vogel, Philip Baker, Arvid Skar, Eva K.S. report, domestic and foreign judicial precedents, etc.
Now let's move on to the structure of a tax treaty. For the purpose of uniformity, we have considered the structure of OECD Model Convention as an example. I'm requesting Sumana here to go over each of the section and explain its contents.
A treaty contains a title and preamble which play an important role in interpretation of a treaty. Article 1-2 provide personal scope and tax scope of a treaty, and Article 30-31 provide for a time frame within which a treaty is effective. Article 345 provides definitions applicable for the entire treaty as a whole, such as company, person, national, resident, PE, etc. Articles 6 to 22 are the substantive provisions of a treaty which pertain to various categories of income and allocate taxing rights between the tax jurisdictions. Article 23 and 25 deal with mechanisms for elimination of double taxation arising despite the allocation rules. Article 9, 27 and 29 focus on prevention of treaty abuse by way of setting rules between AEs by exchange of information and by providing limitations or conditions for obtaining treaty benefits. A treaty covers some miscellaneous provisions such as non-discrimination, assistance in collection of taxes, and article on diplomats. Generally, treaties all over the world resemble this structure with few modifications.
Thanks, Sumana. That gives a good idea on how the DTAs are structured. We will look at each of these segments in detail. In this module, we will touch upon the first section, that is a title and preamble to a tax treaty and their significance. Sumana, please can you show us a few examples of various titles used in the tax treaty?
Sure, Vaishaka. The structure which I explained above is a structure of a comprehensive double taxation avoidance agreement. Some countries may also enter into limited agreements for specific purposes. Some examples of such limited agreements entered by India, and the titles of these agreements are given in this slide. A comprehensive agreement with Netherlands contains a title indicating that the agreement is for the purpose of avoidance of double taxation and the prevention of fiscal evasion with respect to taxes on income. Title of a multilateral agreement between India and other SAARC members, namely Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Bhutan, the Maldives, Nepal, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka, specifically indicate that the agreement is a multilateral agreement between SAARC members and it's a limited agreement for avoidance of double taxation and provides mutual assistance in tax matters.
That was very interesting to know. Purpose and scope of a tax treaty can firstly be derived from its title. We could further understand its objective by looking at the preamble to that treaty. Requesting Sumana here to show us the different examples of the preamble text.
Here I am illustrating preambles of comprehensive treaties. The preamble of India-Singapore Treaty indicates that the countries are desirous of avoidance of double taxation and the prevention of fiscal evasion with respect to taxes on income. In addition, preamble text is also modified to include a text which is a mandatory text as per OECD Multilateral Convention. Such preamble indicates the intention of countries to eliminate double taxation with respect to the taxes covered by this agreement without creating opportunities for non-taxation or reduced taxation through tax evasion or avoidance, including through treaty shopping arrangements aimed at obtaining reliefs provided in the agreement for the indirect benefit of residents of third jurisdictions. The preamble of India-Mauritius Treaty indicates that the countries are desirous to conclude a convention for avoidance of double taxation and the prevention of fiscal evasion with respect to taxes on income and capital gains and for the encouragement of mutual trade and investment.
India has signed the MLI and has included all its treaties as covered tax agreements. To the extent of parity, and in cases where MLI is effective, the treaty signed by India will now be updated to include the mandatory preamble text which enunciates the purpose of a tax treaty. Do a comment below if you'd like us to do a dedicated session on the MLI and its impact on India's tax treaties. The MLI also provides for additional preamble language as per which a purpose of a tax treaty is also to developing economic relationship between countries and enhance cooperation in tax matters. Each of the countries may incorporate the relevant language in the preamble. India has not agreed to incorporate the additional language of preamble in its treaties. Hence, India's treaties will not include this language except where the treaties already included mutual cooperation for cross-border trade and investment as their preamble. Example, India-Mauritius Treaty or the India-Russia Treaty. A preamble to a treaty helps in the proper interpretation of tax treaty since it indicates the context in which such treaty is concluded, and it also provides the object and purpose of a treaty. The Indian Supreme Court in the case of Azadi Bachao Andolan has acknowledged the significance of the preamble of treaty for the purpose of interpretation. It held, since the purpose of concluding the Indo-Mauritius Treaty is to enhance mutual trade and investment and to encourage the foreign direct investment through Mauritius, the entire treaty should be interpreted having regard to such purpose. Also, the basic rule of interpretation of treaties enshrined in the Article 31 of the Vienna Convention Law of Treaties provides that the treaty should be interpreted in good faith by providing the ordinary meaning to the terms and having regard to the context, which includes the preamble and the object and purpose of a treaty, which can be determined by the text of the treaty. So that brings us to the end of this module. In this module, we got a broad overview of the need for tax treaties, structure of a tax treaty, and also the importance of title and preamble in interpreting a treaty. In the next module, we will dive deep into the scope of application of the tax treaty. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video.